So the issue now is exporting is a small business. So what do? Now on the importing thing, you know that this agent in this factory is overseas and they're supplying the importer in the United States. This is the import distribution from the United States graph model. In exporting, all you do is reverse the two. Okay? In exporting, this is the United States. This isn't overseas, this is the United States. In exporting, this isn't the United States, this is overseas. So what happens is, if you happen to find that the best place in the world to have your product made is the United States, when you think about becoming an importer and the best place in the world to have the product made is the United States because you checked everywhere in the world, well, make it here, distribute it here, but you just learned that the product is exportable, that the product is world-class because you checked everywhere in the world, therefore you should be able to export it to companies overseas. Now, so in that case, you won't be the importer in the United States, you would actually be the agent. You remember I was talking about the agents and importing? You would be the agent representing factories. So what happens is, here's the problem in America. Everybody thinks big business. And we have these studies done by the United States Department of Commerce that says if small and medium-sized businesses in America that have world-class products were to export their products, the trade deficit would be wiped out. The amount of goods that we have that are world-class that are not exported from America, we have so much of that that's not exported that it's just an untapped market. Now, the U.S. Department of Commerce, all sorts of the government agencies try to support this, but they got a couple of problems. There's only so many people they can support. They do not support small businesses. They don't support any business that doesn't make something or warehouse it. So for somebody just starting out, it's kind of hard to get going. But they have that problem of the medium businesses. They're targeting those medium businesses to sell, to promote their products outside the country. Boeing doesn't need export assistance. So all that government help is directed towards mid-sized businesses. But mid-sized businesses consider exporting, look at it, and then those mid-sized businesses in the United States refuse to export. When they study exporting, they refuse to export. Why? Why would a mid-sized business refuse to export from the United States? It's a bad business decision for a mid-sized American company to export. Why would that be? Well, think about it. If you're mid-sized, you have not penetrated the entire United States market. That means if you're a company in San Francisco, mid-sized, you're not selling in Atlanta yet because you're mid-sized. You don't have nationwide coverage. So somebody from Kota Kinabalu offers to buy products from you. You could work on the market in Kota Kinabalu, or you could work on the market in Atlanta. Which one are you going to work on? Atlanta is the United States. Kota Kinabalu is overseas. It's more risk, it's more effort, you don't know what you're doing, it's difficult to do. Why would you bother trying, as a mid-sized company, to try to build market in Kota Kinabalu when you got this easy, low-hanging fruit in the United States? Do you understand the problem? So they look at this and they say, no, it's not a good idea for us to export our products. The problem is all these companies around the world do their research and they find the American companies, these factories, have world-class capabilities, but these factories won't export. So what to do? Well, the opportunity is we can act as agents. We go and we buy from these factories, and these factories sell to us. So it is a domestic sale, selling to us. Okay? So the factory, it's like selling to Atlanta, no big deal. You turn around and you export to an importer in Kota Kinabalu who worries about the distribution and marketing overseas. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to know anything about it. All you got to do is pack it up, ship it, get the paperwork right, and export it out of the United States. So your value to these people is it's a domestic sale. Your value to these people is they can get the products. Now, so how do you get involved in that business? What do you do to get involved in that business? Where does it start? okay? It starts with, again, your passion. You're not going to be able to go off into some field you know nothing about and expect to do business. You know why? Because the people already in that field have figured out that there's business out there. If there's any to be done, they're doing it, okay? You've got to come in, again, on the sides, marginal, with a business that nobody else can get involved in. So what you have to do, first you start off with what you love, okay? Then you start working on the people overseas. You do exactly the reverse of the whole process of finding the best place in the world to have the product made. You can do a reverse of that process and find out where the Americans say you like bread, where most of the American bread exports go. Wherever that place is overseas is going to be your number one market. So you don't care where you sell. You want to sell where the most bread is being sold. If Japan is the number one market for bread exports in the United States, that's where you want to sell because they're buying the most. What's happening in Japan, regardless of how much bread they're buying, there's some bread buyers not being taken care of. Okay? Now, let me show you a little something that happens here. These buyers overseas will go and contact American manufacturers through the United States Department of Commerce trying to find out who makes and sells breads in the United States. So what these people in the United States do when they get this trade inquiry that comes from Japan, as soon as it gets there on March 15, shows up in the trade directories, the trade leads of the United States Department of Commerce, 500 people jump on it. 500 people in America contact that Japanese company. 500 people make offers to the Japanese importers. So the Japanese importers, and March 20, goes through all 500 and gets down to the one customer they're going to buy from. March 20, year 2008. You follow that? Okay. Now that's going through that process. If you were to jump on that trade inquiry on March 20, 2008, then what would happen? You're 1 in 500. Your chances are pretty slim of getting the deal, correct? Okay. So what you got to do, a little technique I learned from a person in the class once, is you've got to wait a year. In a year, what's going to happen is March 20, 2009, by that time, the Japanese importer who's been working with American exporter for a year is going to have some unmet needs. They've been working with this supplier overseas who hasn't met their needs. Something marginal, something small. A year later, you contact that Japanese importer that asked about the product a year ago. You're now 1 versus 1, not 1 versus 500. You follow that? A year later, you're 1 versus 1. This American factory that's supplying the Japanese right now has already decided they're not going to take care of that problem. It's not worth their while. So when you contact that same person overseas, say, I know you're buying bread, I know you're interested in product, is there anything I can do that'll satisfy a need that's not being met right now?
Yeah, you don't have to be fresh to be my girl. You don't have to be cool to rule my world. I love my I just want your extra time, your kiss.